Hi everyone, Paul Jennings here and welcome to another episode of my show where I have conversations with inspirational or inspiring musicians from around the world. And today is a very exciting show, like all of them. I always say that. I always say this is a great show today. Well, I mean it is. First of all, I want to draw your attention to this epic, incredible... The light is going, fuck. This looks shit. I'm in this hotel room and whatever. First of all, I want to draw your attention to this incredible theme music which you can hear, and that is by my friends Federation of the Disco Pimp, and you can check out their links below. They're incredible, they're from Scotland and they are as funky as you could get, really. If you've not already subscribed to my channel, please do so below, and also hit the like button. That really helps me. All of this content is free for you guys, so the only thing I would love to ask you for in return is to hit that like button. That tells the YouTube algorithm that I'm doing a good job. So thank you in advance for doing that. I got on an electric scooter this morning and I got too cocky with it, I guess, and I wrecked my ankle. There was actually blood coming through the sock, which you know at that point that you've really done some damage. But I can still walk. Anyway, I'm sure you're not interested in that. That's not why you're here. The reason you're here is because you want to hear my conversation with Casey Driessen. Casey Driessen is an old friend of mine, and he's not that old, but he's been a friend of mine for a long time. He is a fiddle player. He's a fiddle player from the United States, but he is not just any fiddle player. He's not just playing a couple of jigs. This man has taken the fiddle, I believe, to its absolute limits. The guy is absolutely incredible. He's done amazing things in his career. He started out, well, I guess he started his professional career after he was at Berklee in Boston, and he went out to Nashville and he ended up performing with some of the greats out there: Alison Brown, Tim O'Brien, Bela Fleck and The Flecktones. He did a lot of different tours with the Flecktones, and then he went on to start his incredible Otherlands YouTube series, where him and his family went all around the world collaborating with musicians from all different cultures, and it's some of the most incredible musical content I've seen recently. It's incredible. The link's below. Check it out. Definitely subscribe to his channel and his Instagram and all that. It's all down there, as I'm sure I've said that many times before. Anyway, we're gonna get into it, but first of all, here is the trailer for Casey's Otherland series. It's just watch this before you don't skip. Watch this whole trailer. It is beautiful, and after you see this, you got to go over and subscribe to Casey. Anyway, here's the Otherlands trailer, and then we're going to go straight into the conversation with Casey Driessen, and I hope you enjoy it. The light is pissing here.
It's a nice song, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, Casey. I've not seen you in a number of years now, and I was trying to think about when that was, and I think it was you were with the Flecktones. I think that was the last time I saw you, and it was a gig in Madison, Wisconsin, and we briefly said hello because you were busy after the gig signing autographs and taking selfies or something like that.
It was probably before selfies were happening, is my guess.
No, it was a few years ago, man. But I first met you in Boston. I think that was right when you, and I mean, this is going back like 2 decades ago when we first met.
Yeah.
And you had just finished, I think you were just coming up to finishing at Berklee.
I was in Boston from 97 to 2000. So it would have been in that time span because I moved to Nashville right after I graduated in 2000. So like June of 2000 is when I left Boston. So it's been 2 decades for sure
that we have known each other. That's wonderful. I just want to acknowledge very quickly that I did mention this earlier, but you are right now incredibly color coordinated to the room that you're in. And I love it. And so this is your studio space is this a uniform that you wear when you come into your studio space or?
Well, I do get dressed up to go to work for sure. No, this is a room on the far side of my house. And it's one of the reasons I think we got this place or loved this place when we first saw it, because I would have the chance to have a space for myself. Yeah. And obviously for the last 2 years here, or a year and a half going on 2, it's been really, really fantastic to have a dedicated workspace. And so this is where I teach, looking at this camera and this mic that is right on the other side. And there's another camera over here for the close-up fiddle shots. And then I got speakers for mixing, and I, mix and edit and record myself for folks in here and do my own projects. So I spent a lot of time right here.
Well, it looks like a lovely space. I wanted to start with you. So when I met you, you just moved to Nashville, and first of all, what made you move to Nashville? What was that like? Because you ended up, playing with, some of the bluegrass greats, some of the, the big names, and that sort of seemed like it was your trajectory for a long time, and then obviously that shifted. How were those years in Nashville when you started?
Yeah, so the summer before my senior year of college, I got a call for a gig that was out of Nashville. And it was a gig, Tim O'Brien called. He had been somebody, a hero of mine, still is, that I had, sort of tried to jam with and meet when I was a kid at bluegrass festivals, and, sort of insinuate myself in the surrounding and kind of hang out and play tunes. I was just interested in playing tunes.
Yourself in there, yeah.
Yeah, I would sneak backstage, when people were sort of rehearsing and jamming, and have my fiddle with me and, try and get a tune in. I probably had no idea that people were even rehearsing. I was just looking for jams. But so anyway, I guess I wasn't too annoying, and Tim called me for a gig, and it was it was the summer before my senior year of school. It was out of Nashville, and I thought, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to check out Nashville and see if it's a place that I might like to live, because I'm going to be needing to figure that out anyway in a year. So I went down to Nashville, and I was on the road for most of the time that I was there, but I had an apartment with an old college roommate, or a buddy from the halls. And so that kind of got my feet wet in Nashville. And so when I finished school, I was trying to figure out, well, where do you go? Well, a good place for a fiddle player seems like Nashville. And I had already been there for a little bit, so I knew a couple folks, and it was a good kind of leaping off place, and
Yeah.
I was there for 11 years.
And how, I remember then seeing you play with Alison Brown. You were with Alison Brown for a long time, and I remember
Yep.
you coming to Celtic Connections back when it was in the Central Hotel,
Yeah.
And which was a golden era. But
Awesome. I loved it so much. It was some of my first international trips, so that really kind of set, yeah. Well, with Allison, that might have been my first time to Scotland. I would have to go back and look, but some of my early trips, when I moved to Nashville after college, one of the first people that I started to play with was Allison, and she was one of the people that took me abroad early on. Her and Tim O'Brien as well.
And because I think we hung out with you because I'd met you in Boston, and then I don't think we'd seen each other, and then you came to Celtic Connections with Alison Brown.
Yeah.
And then we ended up hanging out for a few nights in the Central Hotel with my old band Croft Number 5, and we all kind of hung out for a bit. That was good fun. That was like
it was a good time.
Another era. Yeah. But anyway,
I know.
So you were in Nashville. You ended up playing with the Flecktones as well. How did that come about? Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. Probably many viewers know who they are. If you don't, I mean, where have you been?
Well, let's see. So when I was in Nashville, I mean, I went out to lots of different jam sessions and just kind of put myself out there. I was really just looking to play tunes and hang out. And I had different gigs with different folks, nothing was necessarily like a permanent gig that took all my time. So like many musicians, you are, kind of a couple gigs with this person, a couple gigs with this person, then that leads to a couple more with this person. And, they have their projects that they're doing. But the way that I got to know Bela is that I played with Tim O'Brien for a number of years. And Tim was doing a record, and this was when I was in the band, so I was on the record. And he invited Bela to do a song on the record. And I'm not sure if we were there at the recording session together or if he overdubbed. I don't remember. But I remember speaking with Bela after the CD release show that we had done in Nashville. And Bela was dating a woman that was sort of in the friend circle that I was part of. And so my first real situation with Bela was going on a double date with him and his girlfriend and me and my girlfriend. And so it was really more of a social type of situation, but it came from being part of that record with Tim, that led to us hanging out. And we pretty much hung out a lot, as part of the social scene. And then Bela the Flecktones were taking a break for a bit, and he pulled together, he had two different trios. I said two, but I'm doing three fingers because it's a trio.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Two trios, right? And one of them was like a jazz trio with Jean-Luc Ponty and Stanley Clarke. This is in the same year. And he also had a bluegrass trio that same year with Brian Sutton, and he asked me to play fiddle. So that was my first real playing situation with Bela. And then that just kind of turned into different projects that he was doing that I would participate in for a number of years. So that's how that worked out.
You really became friends, and then obviously the sort of music just unfolded working together.
That's the way that it turned out for us. I was, I never was trying to push playing together or anything like that. It was really a social sort of situation. And, he has so many projects going on. He's like, he's probably got projects planned for the next 5 years is my guess, Well, so like if you fit into that, awesome. If not, he's a great guy to hang out with and have fun, just chatting and catching up, and he's a buddy.
And that's great. And to be honest, like I feel like, it's such a classic thing, but being able to play the gig is one thing, but really being able to hang out and be friends and being able to be with each other is the main part of that, So whenever I've sort of put bands together, like, sure, it's like, yeah, can they play? Do you think they can do the gig, etc.? But then it's mostly just like, oh, but yeah, they're great to be with, you know?
Well, you spend so much time together,
Yeah.
from rehearsals to gigs, but even probably even more time in the travel and the logistics. And, there's, you got to be able to exist, with each other. And I suppose, short run things could happen where people are, so probably okay with each other. But like for long term things to take place between people, I think you have to have a good, friendship
Yeah.
really because at a certain point you're like, I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person, and I want to enjoy my time that I'm spending with these people when I'm not on stage as well. So
Yeah. Which
that's
is most of the
that's what I'm
time.
looking for too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're sitting like hunched up together or on an airplane or whatever it is.
Yep. Yep.
So okay, so you were in Nashville for many years, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, and social media means that we never really have to ask each other what we've been up to anymore. Um,
Right.
so I could see from where I was. Oh, Casey's moved out to Spain.
Hmm.
Boom. And
Yep.
from a distance, to me, what that looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and which I think is a beautiful thing, is that to me that looked like this man felt like if he stayed in Nashville, it would be one trajectory that many have done, and that's nothing wrong with that. But there was so
Hmm.
much more scope around the world, and being a Nashville fiddle player was not all that you were looking to get out of your life. And so
Sure.
then you moved to Spain, and what followed. Is that
Yeah.
any sort of window? Is that right, in any way right?
I would say, that is the loose arc of it. There's actually another step in there that was actually, I was playing with the Flecktones, and now that was a group that if you were involved with the Flecktones, like when they toured, and that's like a full-time gig.
Mhm.
And so I was busy working with them, and my wife is from Asheville, North Carolina, and but we met in Nashville, and for a number of years she started kind of wondering about maybe moving back closer towards family, and I had always seen myself as being in Nashville, Tennessee. But I'd go in Christmas, holidays, birthdays, whatever. It's like 4.5 hours away, so I would travel there a bunch, and so I started to warm up to the idea of living in Asheville. But I had this gig with the
It
Flecktones.
sort of sounds the same, so you could kid yourself into thinking that you. Sorry,
Well,
I couldn't resist.
I
Anyway,
it's no, but there's some truth to that because when I did eventually move here, it was during the time that I had the Flecktones gig. So I had a gig that I didn't necessarily need to be located in Nashville for, and in fact, one of the other people that was involved with the Flecktones also lived in Asheville, North Carolina. So now we had two people that lived here. We found a place, we moved, and then the Flecktones kind of finished, and I sort of was ramping up my solo looping project. So then after moving here, then I was kind of in a way on a little bit of my own, and trying to figure out my own path. I did want to maintain some ties with Nashville, Tennessee. So honestly, when people say, "Where do you live?" I live in Nashville, and you hear what you want to hear, I guess. So, and I also still maintained, I threw jam sessions, and I still do in Nashville, Tennessee. So I was maintaining a connection between the two, and we were just closer to family
yeah,
here. So we were here for a few years, and I had started to go up to Berklee, Boston, to do some guest artist residencies through the Roots program that happens there. And when I was up there, they were looking for a new string department chairperson. and they asked me about that, if I would be interested in applying for it. I did apply, and then I was talking with somebody, and they said, "So you would be interested in moving to Boston?" And I was like, "I don't know, actually, if I would be interested in moving to Boston. I liked going there and working with folks, and so it made me think, did I want to move to Boston?" I said, "Well, I don't know." And they said, "Well, would you be interested in moving to Spain?" And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, we opened a campus a couple years ago in Spain, and we're looking for a new director for the contemporary performance program that is there. So that's also something that is a position that is open right now." And I said, "Okay, maybe I should apply
I'm
for that."
interested. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. So I applied for that, and I ended up, going to do an interview and do some workshops, and then I ended up getting the job.
Beautiful.
So it was really like there was a couple little different steps in between there that kind of led to me finding out about the opportunity and then saying, "Okay, let's go for this."
This is where life is taking us now.
Yeah, I mean, Molly is my wife. We had always kind of dreamed about living outside of the country at some point together. We never knew how it would happen. All my international trips that I had taken through Alison Brown or through Bela or Tim or Daryl Scott, all these trips to these different places, or Abigail Washburn, going to China with her.
Yeah.
They really they inspired me every time that I went to these other countries, met people, experienced the cultures, got to play music with people there. And I always came back so fired up and so inspired and so interested in what was beyond, for me.
What's out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you completely. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, my wife shares this same, interest in, what is out there in people and places and food and, just everything that's associated with it,
Yeah.
So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. Well, how can you pass up an opportunity to go live in Spain? So that's what we did, and we were there for. I did that job for about 4.5 years. We were there for about 5 years.
Where in Spain was that?
Valencia.
Okay.
So
Valencia.
Valencia. Yeah, on the eastern coast, halfway down, Mediterranean. It's a great place. It's the third largest city in Spain. It's not the big tourist destination that the other places are, but it is a pretty awesome city. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I might get fired up there and have a look. I've never been to Valencia, but it's just up the coast from where I am. So yeah. So Spain for a couple of years. Sorry, how long did you say?
We moved there. Let me think. It was summer or spring of 2015, I think. I did the program for 4.5 years.
Okay.
So we were basically there for like 5.
And let's pivot onto what is now one of the most, to me, one of the most incredibly cool and interesting musical video series I've seen recently, which is your Otherlands video series. And it's I mean, basically, I showed the clip earlier on the intro, or I will, because of it. It is incredible, because it is, to me, it's like, here is a window into cultures, musical cultures, through the eyes and through the music of someone who is exploring it and who's experiencing it, and it was just so interesting to watch. And what was the process in you sort of arriving at that point and being like, I'm going to do this, we're going around the world. And obviously that was a family decision that you guys all made together, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, how did that come to pass? Because it's wonderful. It's so lovely, man. I love it.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I do, because I comment on all your posts.
Well, I mean, we have got some similar interests here, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if we're working on something together at some point, someday, that is related. I know.
We
I
need to
know.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the first idea for the project was when I was living in Nashville. So it's been an idea that has been brewing for many years for me. Like wanting to live abroad and never knowing how it would happen. I have long wanted to do a project where I travel. Music is the way that I travel. Music is the way that I meet people and that I experience the cultures, and somehow share that experience, because it is, I mean, it's a super privilege to be able to, do what I did and to travel around and take that time and to have people in different places be so generous and to share their life and their music with me. So I think I would like to be able to share that experience with others as well. Because I'm discovering I'm interested in it. Surely, if I'm interested in something, I gotta imagine there's somebody else that's interested in it too. It's kind of how I see
Oh,
things.
many people. Yeah.
You know, so I had this idea a long time ago, and didn't quite know how it was going to happen. But moving to Spain to do this job was something that was in that direction, right? Okay, so I'm getting closer to different countries and access to people and expanding the music and the folks that I know, and the ability to travel to these places. So that was a step in the right direction. And we had a great time in Spain. At some point, we realized that maybe we need to think about when we are going to go back and be closer to our family again. And so eventually, that time seemed like it was coming. It was a good time for my daughter and the age that she was getting in school, and like when is a nice time to sort of transition back to being in the States for her. Mm-hmm. And so I left the job, and as we were talking about going back, my wife mentioned like, hey, do you think we should maybe take this opportunity to do this thing that we've talked about for a long time? Because
go the long way around.
Go the long way home. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because all of our stuff, the stuff that we did save back in the US, was in storage. You ship your belongings that you took with you to Spain, that we took with us, that goes on a boat. It takes, months to get home. Yeah. You're pretty much, in a suitcase anyway, and you've picked up, you're kind of in this in-between part of your life. You could go straight back and then just wait for your stuff, but it seemed like, when else are we going to just pick up and leave and have the opportunity to do it? It seemed like the right time.
This is the...
Yeah. If we're going to do this, if we're going to take essentially a year, we ended up doing 9 months in time to get back for school for my daughter. But basically, in our mind, it was a year of travel that we were about to undertake. And I don't know when we would do that again to take a full year. So it was like, this is the moment to do it. Let's go.
It sounds like everything just kind of pointed in that direction, and you were able to recognize that not to get too spiritual, but what was being shown to you, this is the way you need to go, and
yeah.
But okay, so what was it? What's interesting to me is these videos, the Otherlands videos, and please, people watching, the link is down below right there. Please subscribe to Casey and watch these videos. I've watched almost all of them, and they are so incredibly, I love them. I love them. I love them.
And you probably see them developing over time too.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker yourself, like this was my first time doing video, really getting into this whole thing. This is all on my own.
And that's a journey. That's like a separate creative journey
Yeah. Anyway.
No. I did. But these videos, you don't really know what you're about to watch, and a perfect example of that for me is the one where you're in Japan, and it's the mandolin player and the singer.
Taro and Yuki.
Right. I clicked on that, and I put on the Japanese one the other day because I hadn't seen that, and I was not expecting to hear Japanese bluegrass
Yeah.
Like I mean, I just was like, whoa, this will be like some kind of like, and more fool on me for stereotyping Japanese culture, but I was like, wow, that is incredible. You've got this
Yeah.
guy playing actually amazing like bluegrass style mandolin, and
Yep.
this incredible singer that's like, and it all worked together so well, and you were it was fascinating. It was otherworldly, and hence Otherlands. It was just like,
Yeah.
yeah. But so
Yeah.
so, so I've got a question about that actually.
Please.
That my very good friend and ex-girlfriend Lauren, who I mentioned that she's really into your stuff, and we're still friends. But she said to me when I said that you were going to be one of my guests, she said, "How did he parlay the connections? How do you think he found the people to? So how
Yeah.
did you find these people? Like as you went to India, to Japan, to Scotland, to Ireland, etc. Yeah, how did you find these people?
Yeah, it really is every scenario probably you can imagine, or many different ones. Certainly there was people that I knew from my previous travels. So that's kind of the starting point. Hey, I'm coming to Ireland. I've been to Ireland a number of times. Here's where we're planning on going. We're going to be around for a couple of weeks. Are you around? What do you got going on?
Yeah.
Half the people I contacted, they were on tour, because this was a time when people were still touring. And so, well, you're going to Galway. Hey, you should meet my friend. Have you called so-and-so, or you got in touch with this person? And then it just sort of goes like this. And okay, so then I go to a jam, somebody reminds me of a friend or gives me a number that I lost or never had. And I contact them like, hey, I'm going to a jam session. Okay, so I go to the jam session, and then I meet Alan Kelly, the accordion player that I ended up collaborating with. And we had a great time, at the jam session. He said, oh, hey, I'm going to do this other jam session in another couple days. You want to come by? Sure, I'll go do that one. Did that one. Hey, so fun playing together. You want to just get together at your house and just like see what happens? I got a couple of little cameras and mics. We'll
And
put it
that
up and we'll just see.
well, you actually contacted me when you were in Scotland, and we tried to get together, but our schedules just never matched
Yeah.
up, which I'm sad about. And you ended up playing with Michael Biggins, who is
Yeah.
an incredible piano player
Yeah.
from here. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just the way it goes, isn't it? It's like you
Mhm.
just kind of, you don't, if you've got a wonderful idea like Otherlands, and obviously it's been brewing for a long time, and I think you get this. It can sit in the periphery for a while, and then when it becomes a reality, it's just a case of like making the jump to start, and then you'll figure it out as you
Yeah.
go along. That's kind
Yeah.
of it. That's probably how it went. Yeah, as you
I
said.
mean, the initial leap is that's the big scary thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're about to leave for 9 months. I mean, how are we going to do this? Where are we going to go? How long are we going to spend in these places? How long do we want to spend in, like, do we want to travel every 2 days like we're on tour, or do we want to stay put for a week or 2 or 3? How many people do I think I can meet with and do a collaboration with, and how long is it going to take me to create what I mean, I didn't set out to make a record. I didn't know what the audio was going to be like. I wanted to capture things, but I didn't know what the end result was going to be. And so you're kind of discovering all of this stuff in real time.
Yeah.
But the initial leap is the thing that's, sort of the scary part of it. But then you're in it.
And then you're going, and then you're
rolling.
in it, and
Yeah.
it's just
You're
happening.
trying to figure it out.
So what if there's a particular, do you have a particular experience from the Otherlands journey that where you perhaps were like, wow, this is nuts what we have just what we're doing, like musically, or you're sitting in a room, or you're like trying to get across a country, or
Mm-hmm.
in a good way, in a way where you were like, wow, we have like, this is the greatest. Yeah. Is there anything that
Well,
stands out as an experience from that trip?
Well, the two things that come to my mind, So we started in Spain. Like I say the project launched in Spain, and that because that was a place that we were living. We knew the language, we knew how to get around, and we knew that we were leaving it, and we wanted to be able to see some more of it before we left.
Yeah.
So that seemed like a safe way to kind of get started, like some familiarity. And then when we left Spain, it was sort of like, wow, we're leaving this place that's been our home for 4 or 5 years now. And we jumped over to Ireland to start. And I remember sort of getting to the house out in, like north of Galway, about, 30, 40 minutes or something like that is where we were staying. And I was like, okay, here we are. Now we have really started this journey now, is where it really felt like we were, because we were at all new places, all new people, and figuring out how to get around. And it was the beginning of the trip.
It's like the movie Interstellar, when they like leave, when they're like go through the wormhole.
Yeah, and you come on the other side, and like okay, now it's here. Now it really begins. So I remember that feeling. But then in terms of like musical things, one of the collaborations that always sticks in my mind is this one that I did in India. Now, India was an amazing experience for us. We extended our trip there. Such an amazing country. Amazing people.
I've been fortunate to be there twice. It is the most remarkable place I think I've still ever been.
It's so vibrant, like in every way. It's so exciting, and people are so welcoming and friendly and interested and helpful, and it was fantastic. But that is one of the furthest out of my comfort zones musically. Mm-hmm. And I remember having a collaboration with somebody that I didn't know, that was a friend put me in touch with somebody that they had run into just once or twice. And so I was basically, it was kind of cold call sort of stuff. And I was a Carnatic percussionist. And so playing the kanjira. You as a percussionist, you probably really love this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
His name is Amrit.
But that instrument in itself is a crazy thing because it's so simple. Yeah. The technique is, Anyway, sorry.
This guy is amazing. So we didn't really know what was going to happen. And this was the first time in this project that I was working with somebody that was was not a melody player, right? So lots of times I was learning a tune from somebody. And in this case, I wasn't necessarily learning a tune. And so I had to think about what are we going to do today? We're like, I have no idea what's going to happen today. We're going to get together and we'll just see. So I kind of had a tune in mind that maybe we could use, that I could bring to it, which is like an old time tune. Old time and bluegrass sort of tune. So I had this in mind, and we were on this rooftop outside, and
Where
we were in Bangalore,
okay, or
Bengaluru, down in Karnataka. And so I was on a rooftop of a friend's place, and it was, enclosed but open. There's like construction going on. There's always construction going on. So there's like noise happening over here. It's hot. One of my cameras is like shutting down all the time. And on top of that, I'm in a rhythmic concepts that are very, very challenging for me. So like half of my brain is like
Future Man.
Well, even having played with Future Man, this is that probably helped me out, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah. So this, but it was a really, really tough day. Amrit is a beautiful person. We had a great time together. He really helped me work to understand some of these concepts, and then we tried to apply them to this traditional tune that I knew. But all these other, so I'm trying to concentrate on this. There's this production stuff that I'm doing on my own. Mics and cameras, and things are not going well, and I want to be really focusing on my experience with him. So at some point, I just put a camera away, and you have to decide, like, it's going to be the situation that it's going to be.
That's right.
Be present. It's more important for the whole project, really, even though I'm documenting it. The important part is like connection with people and having an experience and sharing. If it gets documented, great. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. Like I kind of had to put all that aside and say, that's really not this focus. That's a bonus thing. The thing is about my own, growth and inspiration and the connection between people. So I sort of forget about all that stuff, or try to, and then try and be present and learn these concepts. And it was super, super challenging. Like I struggled, all day long with this stuff musically, because we were trying to play these things in multiple time signatures.
Yeah.
Is basically what was happening. And after the end of the day, we eventually kind of got all the different time signatures, but we didn't have an arrangement necessarily that like I had in some of the other collaborations. I was, felt defeated in other ways, just like, geez, I don't know what just happened today. I had a good time. I think we had a good time. I think he had a good time.
But it took a lot out of you. It took a lot out of you. Yeah.
I was exhausted, and then I remember the next morning I had to take a really, really early morning flight to Chennai to get my passport renewed at the embassy. And that was the closest one. Just like, there's all this sort of crazy stuff. And that was like the next morning. I remember being standing in line at the airport, like, what just happened yesterday? What do I even have? And I was like, all I have is just me struggling with these concepts, And I thought, well, maybe that's what this experience is. Maybe that's what this video is showing the learning experience, because that's also a huge part of what all this is.
And that
so
transcends the music.
Together.
Yeah, and that transcends the music element as well, It's crazy. But I mean, yeah, what a beautiful thing.
But that's a long answer to your question, but that's one of the things that stands out in my mind of like, well, this is really, I'm learning a ton of great tunes and playing arrangements with people, and we're having, all sorts of different interactions, from, not higher or lower, just like from this side to that side, and the types of things that are happening. And that was a really good reality check for me. And just like, this is what the experience is for me. And I'm going to share that as much as I can.
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful answer. And anybody who's watching this, all of the 76,000 people subscribe to this channel, and I thank all of you for doing so.
Nice job.
And if you all see it, you got to go and see Casey's videos, man. The Otherlands series and all of that stuff. So please check it out below. Very quickly, and we don't have a lot of time left. However, I did want to quickly talk to you because, I started this channel as a percussionist and grew it in that way. And you have this, what you've really run with in many ways is this style of fiddle playing, this chop style, which is essentially you're a drummer. Can you tell us a bit about what that is and how you because it feels to me like it's a very natural thing for you. Like it seems like you arrived at this style and it was like, shit, yeah, this is me. Would that be correct? And what is it? What the hell is it?
So it's a percussive way of playing not just the violin, but bowed string instruments. It started on the violin back in the 1960s with a guy named Richard Green, who was playing with Bill Monroe, the father of bluegrass.
Wow.
And it's a percussive sound that happens with the bow. And Richard started that, and it has since sort of like blossomed into this whole style that people play. And it's through different cultures. It's like different parts of the world, different fiddle traditions, and whatever are playing it. But the way I came to it was I was in a bluegrass band like when I was 12 years old, 13, 14, with some friends. And mandolin is a central part of bluegrass, and they give the backbeat,
the snare drum.
And we didn't have a mandolinist. So I was trying to find ways to play the rhythm, to fill in the rhythm that we were missing from the mandolin. So I started kind of bouncing the bow and kind of doing this offbeat sort of 2 and 4 thing. And I thought I was sort of on this developing or finding something brand new. And then I was turned on to the fact that there's a technique that already existed. And so then I heard Darrell Langer, actually was the first guy I heard do it with his band, the Turtle Island String Quartet. And Darrell's the first person to learn from Richard, and with his group, they really kind of just exploded this onto the scene. And so then I grabbed some of those techniques, and it's just been something that I've always loved, being part of the fabric of the rhythm, being a support, for other folks in musical situations. It's not just play my lead, play my solo, and okay, be done and wait for my next time to play. I want to contribute. I want to be part of the fabric of things too.
Groove, yeah.
So that's been something that is just, it started when I was younger, and it's just kind of continued, to develop for myself and the folks that I play with. Yeah, it's fun though.
Well, I think, let's, can you give us, like, seeing as we're here, like, I was going to say the video, but now it's even better. So give us you can something about of what that is.
Sure. I mean, without any notes, the basic idea is, just muting with my left hand, But then if you, are adding things in the left hand, you got. So there's an example of what it's like.
Beautiful. Wow, man. I mean, the first bit you played, I was expecting to hear like Slim Shady,
yeah, right,
Eminem, like come in there, it's
you
cool.
know what?
It's so cool because it's almost like it's just like a bit of scratch vibe, and
it's got a scratch vibe to it for sure. Just in the last few months, I went to record to create the first sample library that has these sounds. And so it's still being worked on right now. It's going to be on Sonora Cinematic is the name of the sample library company. Okay. And it'll be available on Contact and all that sort of stuff. But I am super excited to get these sounds into the hands of people that make beats and see what happens. Like here are all the different sounds, but like they're going to do things that are totally not playable. And that is what really, really gets exciting for me. It's like, here are these tones and these sounds, and like, what kind of grooves? How can you twist them? How can you manipulate them and make some beats, So we'll see.
So so essentially you'd be sampling like, a chop or a triplet or a cat or whatever it is.
Yep. All these different, all these scratch sounds, the triplets, and then also like all the little, staccato notes that go along with all of that stuff, at all these different dynamics.
And then put that into like an MCP sampling unit, and Dr. Dre's using it, and
yeah, I would like to hear Dre with this. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, seriously, that would be cool.
Another one I would actually like to hear do this stuff is Square Pusher. I've always really enjoyed, the way that he works, and it seems like these would be some kind of cool sounds, to get in the hands of somebody, doing drum and bass stuff as well. I don't know. I'm just excited that I feel like it's another step for this technique and these sounds, which are so cool, and it's a new creative tool. So I'm excited.
And where is this going to be available? This library?
Yeah, so Sonora Cinematic is the sample library company. It's a composer and sound designer that runs it. So we recorded a couple months ago, and there's the recording is only one part of the sampling process. There's a whole interface that needs to be created, and there's a lot of editing that needs to be done to create all the samples and all that stuff. That's things that I don't know about so well. So they're working on all of that, and when it's available through them, it will be for integration with Contact. Mm-hmm. If you guys are using that, if it's sample library, basically allows you to use all these different sample libraries. But it'd also be a standalone type of thing too. I'll be making announcements about it for sure.
Well, we'll look out for that. Casey, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely lovely to hang out and chat, because it's been too long for us to get, but anyway, I'm really happy to have you here, because it's been, I think it's been invaluable to the watchers, the viewers. So please subscribe to Casey down below. And Casey, thank you so much. You take care of yourself, man. And I hope to see you soon.
Paul, it's been great. Thank you so much. And I look forward to actually being in the same, physical space with each other. And it'd be fun to work on a project together.
Let's talk about that.